I've been telling y'all. They want this revenue, right? They don't have the viewership to cover the revenue they want. Only 4 to 5 set players have actual fan base. The WNBA as a whole do not have viewership to cover the revenue they're
$460 million. Yeah, you heard that right. Not 46. Not 4.6. 460 million in projected losses. That's the bombshell number the league says the Players' Union's latest proposal would torch over the life of the next CBA, and now the entire WNBA world is on edge. Owners are sweating. Players are standing firm. And the tension. It's getting real spicy. This isn't just a negotiation anymore. This is a full-blown financial showdown that could reshape the future of the league. And when you hear how both sides are framing this number, it hits different. Check this out.
The tail end of their careers. This isn't about Caitlin. This isn't about none of the young players. This whole holdup is about these old players that's on the tail end of their contracts. And it's very unfortunate. It is. But hell, y'all should have been a little bit more brandable. See, it's not our fault. It's not our fault that the league y'all gave us was unbrandable. They can't brand the...
That was wild, right? Because once you understand that $460 million number, everything else starts to make a whole lot more sense. Right now, negotiations are completely stalled, the temperature is rising by the day, and we're staring straight down the barrel of a nightmare scenario, number 2025 season. Yeah, a full blackout. And it all comes down to one thing, the split. The Players' Union is demanding a serious bump to 27.5% of shared revenue, a number they believe reflects the league's growth, the new TV deals, the merch explosion, all of it. But the league? They've dug their heels in hard at just 15%. That gap isn't small. That's a canyon. And neither side looks ready to blink. Now listen to how this revenue battle is being framed from inside the league.
Sports leagues are private, contributing to absurd picture of extent of its losses. In the first 3 decades of existence, however, over the years, WNBA has taken opportunities to share some numbers publicly with media, and it's open about its portion. But in 2018, NBA Commissioner Adam Silver said the WNBA lost an average over $10 million per year. By this measure, the league would have lost roughly $210 million up until that point.
That clip right there, that's the heart of the beef. Because this isn't just about percentages on a spreadsheet, it's a straight-up philosophical clash about what this league actually is versus what some folks desperately want it to be. That 27.5% versus 15% split? That gap represents 2 completely different visions of reality. One side sees growth, momentum, star power, and says, pay us like a league on the rise. The other side sees a business model that's historically been on life support and says, slow down, we're not there yet. And if you don't understand the financial history, none of this hits the way it should. Back in 2018, NBA Commissioner Adam Silver went on record and flat out admitted the WNBA had been losing around $10 million per year, every single year. That's not internet gossip. That's the commissioner putting it out there publicly. So the real question becomes, has the league truly turned the corner since then, or are we watching history repeat itself? Listen to this next part.
Is getting a team. It goes on to say, this historic expansion is a powerful reflection of our league's extraordinary momentum, the depth of talent across the game, and the surging demands for investments in women's professional sports. WNBA Commissioner Kathy Engberg stated that when the league 3 latest expansion teams were announced, but the WNBA does not count those fees. So it looked like it's these fees. Now,
And when you actually sit down and run that math, it gets uncomfortable fast. We're talking roughly $210 million in accumulated losses over the first 2 decades of the league's existence. That's not a rough patch, that's a long-term pattern. Then fast forward to 2024, and according to multiple reports, that annual loss balloons to around $50 million in a single year. 50 million. So this isn't some league that was cruising at break-even and suddenly hit turbulence. This is a league that, in its entire 28-year run, has never turned a profit. Not once. And that's exactly why owners are looking at 27.5% and saying, based on what? While players are looking at sold-out arenas, viral highlights, superstar marketing deals and saying, how much longer are we supposed to wait? Because what happens next, if neither side backs down, could change everything. Watch this.
15 teams without paying 42% to bucket control by NBA owners and 16% to new investors. Each WNBA franchise will get roughly $13 million per year from the media's rights deal alone. If the WNBA owners were to receive just 42% of the media rights deal, that would be $84 million per year, or $5.6 million to each of the 15 teams. Now, it goes on to say, because of this converter ownership structure.
Okay, now that clip right there is where the plot thickens. Because this is where fans start saying, hold up, didn't the league just sign a massive TV deal? And they're right. The WNBA locked in a headline-grabbing $2.2 billion media rights deal over 11 years. That's about $200 million per year. On paper, that sounds transformational. Like champagne popping, problem-solved type money. But here's where it flips. When you actually break down the revenue sharing structure, the story changes real quick. About 42% of that money goes straight into a bucket controlled by NBA owners. Then another 16% flows to new investors who were brought in over the past few years to stabilize the league. So do the math. Only around 42% of that flashy $200 million per year is actually flowing directly into WNBA operations to run the league day to day. And that's the part that has players heated. Because from their perspective, they see billions in headlines. From the league's perspective, they see slices of a pie that's already been divided before it even hits the table. So the real question is, when you strip away the hype and look at what's actually available, is there enough money to meet in the middle? Or is this thing headed straight for a lockout? Take a look at this next part.
At 27.5% of the shared revenue over the lifetime of the league, a source familiar with the league says the claims this would result in $460 million loss over the lifetime of the league. Y'all, that is catastrophic. That means to tell me that they're not finna get a deal done. Wherever the case may be, $460 million loss. I keep saying this. They have to make it make sense. They should have took the 15 and the 400-some thousand and went on about their business and gave up.
That breakdown right there. That's where the numbers start punching you in the face. Do the math. $84 million a year divided across 15 teams. That's roughly $5.6 million per franchise from the media deal. In pro sports terms, that's barely keeping the lights on. That's not private jets and max contracts, that's survival mode. And then you've got the expansion fees. Since late 2023, when Golden State cut that $50 million check, then Portland matched it, Toronto came in even higher, and Cleveland dropped a massive bag to secure a team. The league has collected close to $1 billion in expansion money. That's game-changing cash. But here's the part that has the players absolutely heated. That money doesn't count as revenue in the CBA calculations. It's treated like a one-time infusion, not recurring income. So when it's time to calculate the player's percentage, that billion basically disappears from the table. And from a pure optics standpoint, it looks crazy. The league is saying, we're losing money, while franchises are selling for $50 million a pop. Whether it's technically clean accounting or not, perception matters. And right now, perception is fueling this standoff. Now here's where the tension really lives. The union's latest proposal includes a hard salary cap just under $9.5 million per team and that 27.5% revenue share. The league ran the projections and says that deal would trigger $460 million in losses over the life of the agreement. Not tighten the belt losses. Not we'll figure it out losses. We're talking existential threat territory. So the league counters with 15% and a lower cap to stop the bleeding. The players reject it. And boom, we're at a deadlock that could wipe out the 2025 season before tip-off even happens. And the timing couldn't be worse. The WNBA just had its best year ever. Viewership exploded. Games that used to pull 400,000 were suddenly hitting 2 million, even 3 million viewers. Arenas were packed. Merch was flying off shelves. And let's keep it real, a massive chunk of that surge was driven by one name, Caitlin Clark. Add Angel Reese. Add Paige Bueckers coming in. Add Adja Wilson. Add Sabrina Ionescu. Those are needle movers. Those are ratings drivers. That's business. And this is where it gets uncomfortable. The veterans pushing hardest for 27.5%. They didn't create this recent spike. They paid dues for years, grinding overseas, making a fraction of what male athletes make. On a human level, you get it. This feels like their last shot to cash in. But the younger stars. They're the ones bringing casual fans through the door right now. If there's number 2025 season, Caitlin Clark loses a critical development year. Angel Reese loses momentum. Casual fans who just discovered the league drift away, and they might not come back. Momentum in sports is fragile. You don't pause it. You either ride it, or you lose it. Here's the cold business reality. The NBA players get 50% because the NBA generates around $9 billion annually and has decades of profitability behind it. The WNBA lost $50 million last year. The league says it would lose $460 million more under the union's proposal. These are not the same financial ecosystems. But the union looks at the $2.2 billion media headline and the expansion cash and says, we're worth more. And honestly, they have valid questions about ownership splits and where that 58% is going. The problem is, those ownership structures aren't being renegotiated in this CBA. That's a different battlefield entirely. So we're stuck in a generational chess match. Veterans want the bag now. Rookies and younger stars could afford to build leverage over time. But they're not the ones steering the union ship. And here's the nightmare scenario nobody wants to say out loud. What happens if there's number 2025 season? Fans who just bought their first WNBA jersey show up in May ready for Clark vs. Reese round 3, and instead get a labor dispute headline. They won't sit around reading financial breakdowns. They'll move on. NBA playoffs. NFL off-season hype. Whatever's trending. If that momentum dies, everybody loses. Players don't get 27.5% because there's no revenue to split. Owners can't capitalize on the star surge. Fans feel burned. And the league could slide backward, maybe permanently. So here's the real question. Is 27.5% of nothing better than 15% of something? Maybe the league's projections are aggressive. Maybe the accounting's creative. But even if those projected losses are cut in half, that's still catastrophic for a league that's never turned a profit. The smart long play. Take the 15%, lock in 2025, ride the Caitlin Clark wave, grow the pie, and renegotiate from a position of strength in the next CBA. That's patience. That's strategy. But patience doesn't pay veteran bills today. So now we're at the edge. The WNBA has never been closer to mainstream relevance, and never closer to self-destruction. Both can be true at the same time. So I'm throwing it to you. Are the players right to hold out for 27.5% and bet on themselves? Or should they secure the season at 15% and build long-term leverage? Drop your take in the comments. If you rock with real, unfiltered WNBA breakdowns, hit subscribe right now, because this story is evolving fast and we're not missing a single play.